No black hats, just straight facts.
Triple P certified.
Listen, we can talk about odds all day. It doesn't matter what the odds are. It matters what's gonna happen. Welcome to the Perfect Play Pursuit. We're all here. We are coming off of UFC Vegas. We had, Joe Pyfer. Our totally certified pick, Joe Pyfer, our local hometown guy, went down to the Frenchman, the Swede, Jack Hermanson. It was a wild weekend. We're coming in hot. We got UFC 298, Alexander Volkanovski, the return of Paulo Costa, Secret Juice on deck, Secret Juice on tap. We're going to break it all down for a UFC 298. We got a lot of TMZ style topics floating around. Sneak over, Sean Strickland comes to mind. A lot of different things. We're going to talk about that in the Patreon. But for now, let's just do a quick recap of last week's card, check in with the boys, and then break down some of UFC 298. And then we'll hop over to the Patreon, talk about all the stuff that we can save for that and save for the end. But we got to get to business here first. It's Monday night, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm joined by Alex, the Under King. I'm joined by Devil's Advocate Dan. I'm your host, Lukey CK. We're pursuing a perfect parlay. Back to basics. Don't be wrong. I had an up and down card, Triple B certified picks. We had a lot of them. There was a lot of alignment last week. 11 Triple B certified picks. Ton of success amongst those 11 Triple B certified picks we gave you, including 6 of them being correct. But we went down 5 times. 14 fight card, whatever it was. It's like, that's. It's hard. It's hard to predict everything. I mean, but hey, first 3 of the night: Marcos, Emil, Guskov. We got all 3 of them right for you. And let's talk to the boys. Sorry, Dan, Alex, Dan, how you doing, man?
I'm doing well. I'll be honest. I will not have much to add to this recap breakdown. I was not able to watch the fights. I was part of a friends gathering for Super Bowl weekend. And you know what? This is a good lesson for you folks. Sometimes, not always, but sometimes friendship and love come before your gambling addiction. It's very rare, but in this case, it had to be done. Did not really bet all that much on the fights. I did my perfect parlay and like one little tiny one. Neither hit. But it was all good because it seemed like a hell of a landmine that I dodged there. So, sometimes the shots that you don't take that are the best shots. I'm just filled with wisdom tonight.
Bad news. I only called 2 fights on this card as well. So, Luke, it's gonna be you doing a lot of recapping. Sorry, boss.
Well, I was at the Great Wolf Lodge with my family, but I set up the Apple TV in the hotel room. We had just come back from dinner, so we checked in like right when the fights were starting. So while we kind of unpacked and like got collected, I had about 3 fights. The first 3 I was able to watch. So that's why it was like off to such a great start for me. I mean, I was like, bang, Marcos, bang, Emil. And then I went down to the gift shop to Build a Bear at the Build a Bear workshop. And so after there, saw that Guskov got the knockout. Didn't actually see it happen live. So it's the second week in a row where I'm high on a big time underdog. He gets a first round knockout and I miss it. And then, I do see the end of Jeremiah Wells' fight. I had no idea what was happening. At this point, that was the first one I got wrong. And I'm starting to think after the weigh-ins, Devin Clark's going to go down. So I did do a little solo bet on like Neal to just get a little dry powder after all my parlays with Wells went kaput. Started to rebuild from there. Took Luke Bunmi by decision. That was Money in the Bank plus 100. Went with Oki, but Balaji Oki. Did he win?
Yeah,
he won.
He won. Yeah, he did win. And then saw the Prates fight with Giles. Happy there. So now everything's kind of going well here. But, Petrosian was next to Wells and Pyfer. He was somebody who I had pretty much across a lot of parlays. So Armin Petrosian was somebody who I was very high on. I mean, from the time that line came out, I was like, this is glaring, But then when I saw the weigh-ins, I actually became immediately nervous. I was like, Adolfo Vieira looks like he's in amazing shape. Petrosian is leaving something to be desired here. He doesn't look the part right now. And wouldn't you know it, he gets subbed in the first fucking round. The most, one of the more obvious outcomes he could have probably chosen. But never in a million years did I really think that Vieira would submit him. I thought, maybe he can get some control positions for a couple minutes per round and win a decision. But I didn't think he was going to be able to do that. So very low on Petrosian right now, ready to kind of cut him entirely from the UFC roster. But we trophy certified him, so we just got to blame ourselves there. Wells and Petrosian, I would say, and Pfeiffer obviously are the three kind of like didn't do their job parlay pillar guys of the night. You know what I mean? In terms of the guys that I kind of had to live and die by in one way or another. And they all three lost. So
I can think of one more. Robert Breezik, Dan.
That's not Breezik's fault. That's Dan's fault. And we'll talk about that. Dan, you have a lot to answer for there. I'm pretty pissed off at you, man. When Breezik, the way he performed, I mean, Pateria, I came on this podcast, I said Pateria's going to win because he's lost 3 in a row and he's fighting for his fucking life and he wants to be good. And this guy is coming in, first fight in the UFC. This is a perfect opportunity. And of course, that's what happens. But you talked me out of it. You told me, I watched the tape on Robbie B. He's so good. Trust me. You were doing this. Trust me. Just trust me. You talked both of us onto him.
Well, first of all, Etor was not on a 3-fight losing streak. Okay, he won one of those in there. And Fernie Garcia was on a 3-fight losing streak, and he lost again. So it's not that predictable that, they lose 3 in a row, they're definitely going to win.
But we watched the tape on Emil, and we knew he was good in the areas Fernie was not. Whereas we knew Brajzik was going to have to fight the type of fight Pateri exactly wanted, which that was the key there. That's the learning. Okay, so we can just move on with that. But I'll say this. I really wanted to believe. It's my own fault because I was like, I wanted to just kind of sell my opinion to you. I wanted to basically just farm it out and say, Dan is confident, so now I don't have to do the thinking. And, guys, 600 fights a year, 14 fights on the night. It's a lot of thinking. So anytime you can just kind of take one piece off the board and focus your energy towards the other pieces, you'd think it would help. But 3 minds are not better than 1 in this case. In this case, 1 mind is not better than 2. Dan was wrong there. But one case this card where 1 mind was better than 2 was when I picked Michael Johnson. You guys went with Darius Flowers. You knew nothing about him. Alex, you thought he was fucking Damon Blackshear. That's the only reason you picked him.
No, I didn't. I picked him because he was the guy who was faking getting hurt.
I knew him. I did the tape study.
He was. And
he was the guy. But he came in. Once he missed weight on the scale, I knew my pick in Johnson was secure. I still was nervous, obviously, about it the whole time. But, yeah, Michael Johnson was the pick there. What more can you say? Rodriguez, so happy to see him beat the shit out of Brad Tavares. Also not happy that the ref kind of, did that. And Brad got to be like, I was fine. That was bullshit. Let these guys get knocked down at least. Like, I'm sick of the standing stoppage. I think we had 2 on the night. Okay, so Andre Feely, I'll admit there, where my Michael Johnson Island pick was correct, my Feely pick was dead wrong. Kind of thought that when I saw the weigh-ins too. He looked like shit on the scales compared to Ige. But then what really got me at the very last second was all this hype they were talking about Feely, and they just kept showing all this highlight reels about Feely, and I'm getting re-brainwashed into my original pick. But I kind of did switch to Ige as the fight drew nearer, but I picked Feely on the podcast. He went down hard. Couldn't have really bet that fight anyway for me because I would not have picked Ige to knock him out. I don't know. Not that he's not vulnerable for that, but not that Ige is not capable of that. But I didn't know about the heated gym stuff until they were walking to the cage when it was Ige saying, this guy, he chose to fight me even though we were together in the gym because he thinks that he got the better of me during those exchanges. But it's dude, we're not this isn't go time. If it was go time, I would have would have done things differently.
That's interesting. I wish I knew.
It is interesting. So really does away with Johnny Parable's Parable of the Plank, John Danaher. He's like, everything you do in the gym is exactly the same. We're just going to replicate it. And Danny Ige is like, well, not really, John, because sometimes you're in the gym and you're training and you pull a punch that you don't fucking knock a guy out with. And then in the arena, you're, more willing to do that. So you kind of do bring out a more, the bright lights do bring out more sometimes. Anyway, Joe Pfeiffer, man. What are you going to do? He took damage, and the damage in a fight. We underestimated Jack Hermanson. It's not in the past we estimated him fairly, but over the course of his last few performances, I think that I've recalibrated my opinion of him, and I overcalibrated, and I sold Jack Hermanson down the river a little bit. And he still is motivated to compete. I thought his best days were behind him, and I thought it was the ushering in of a new era. Hardest hitting guy. I thought he was going to get him out of there, but everything he was doing wasn't landing. Jack Hermanson was so defensively sound on the feet, and great cardio. Worked the leg, hurt him to the eye. Nothing really I can do about that one.
How did you feel about Joe Pfeiffer on social media over the last 40 hours?
I'll say Joe Pfeiffer still welcome on the podcast, even though you lost. So I guess you can't say we're not hugging. You know, we're not Johnny Come Lately. We were Johnny Come Early, and we're Johnny Still Around. So open invitation.
What was he saying on social media?
Oh, he was like, after I got hit in the eye, I couldn't see. Everybody hating can suck a fat dick. That he did say that word for word.
Okay.
I love the balls on my mouth.
Okay, so let's wash the card away. It's hard for any of us to really say we did better than anybody when we had 11 Triple B certified picks, right? And 5 of them were wrong. So it's like, I know how Alex did. He got at least 5 wrong. I know how Dan did. He got at least 5 fucking wrong. I know how I did. I got at least 5 fucking wrong. So really, we're going to move on.
It's like, oh, that's your takeaway?
That's my takeaway. It was a night that really nobody could have had any success no matter how hard he tried. It was impossible. So 12 fight offering, what I call a Triple P classic, a classic offering. This is the right amount of fights you want. Really, 10 is, you get about a 1 in 1,054 shot at hitting a perfect parlay. 11, it's like a 1 in double that. And then 12, it's like 1 in 4,000, right? That's the odds you want. Well, about 1 in 4,000, right? So we got a classic Triple P 12 fight offering here. Let's hope all the fights make it to Saturday. And let's talk about the fights that have already been scrapped. AJ Dobson versus Trayson Gore. Trayson Gore is not on the card anymore. They have not found him a replacement opponent. So that fight's off entirely. Hinya Nakamura versus Brady Heinstadt. Tatiana Suarez versus Amanda Lemos. Lemos remains on the card. Tai Tuivasa versus Marcin Tybura. And then you got Anthony Hernandez, Ikram Aliskerov, and Danny Barlow versus Yatsuku Kinoshita. So in these matchups, Kinoshita withdrew, Aliskerov withdrew. The bout was rescheduled for Tai versus Marcin. Suarez withdrew, Hystad withdrew from Hinya Nakamura, and Gore pulled out with a shoulder injury. So of those people, Hinya Nakamura remains on the card. He's taken on the Carlos Vera, the Ecuadorian. We'll break that down on the Patreon episode. Amanda Lemos remains on the card. She's now taken on Mackenzie Dern. We'll talk about that on the Patreon episode. And Danny Barlow is now facing Josh Quinlan. We'll talk about that on the Patreon episode. So join the Patreon. As we said, Alex got laid off from work this month. So all the money that comes in, all the new money, net new revenue coming into the Patreon, we're breaking it all for Alex this month. So if you like Alex, the Euro Under King, this is your time to support him. Get in there for the full year. You get a discount if you go in for the full year. You get an extra episode of the show every week, plus access to our open bet sheets, access to all the picks listed out nice and neatly for you, and all the bets that we're doing in a Google sheet organized with 4 tabs. You're welcome. Congratulations. Welcome to the party. That's how you support the show, guys. Just get in there and support the show. That's what you need to do. The show is free. You're on YouTube. You want to support the show. You want to get an extra episode. Lord knows you need something else to listen to while you're at work. Get into that Patreon. Get that extra episode. Get the picks. Get into the real inner circle. Okay, so let's take it from the top. We got Alexander Volkanovski taking on Ilia Topuria. 14-0 Ilia Topuria challenging Volkanovski for the featherweight title. Ilia Topuria coming off his win against Josh Emmett, pitched a shutout, multiple 10-8 rounds, won every single round. Wins in the UFC include Bryce Mitchell, Jai Herbert, Ryan Hall, Damon Jackson, all by finish. 14-0, El Spotless Matador, the Georgian by way of Spain, 5'7", an inch taller than Volkanovski, but he's going to have an inch less in reach if we're to believe what we see. Ilia Topuria spending time in Florida, spending time at MMA Masters. He's taken on Volkanovski just 3 months after we saw him get knocked out cold. So this fight's going to have a 8-year gap between them. Volkanovski's 35, Topuria is 27. This would be the first this would be, really battling against the odds. I think there was a stat that said, let's see if we can find that stat before we finish talking about this fight, but it's that champions in weight classes less than 155 that are 35 years old, or champions that are,
I think it's like less than 185.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of stats because it's like champions coming off a loss, champions going back down to their original weight class, and then you got champions that are over 35. All three stats are not in Alexander Volkanovski's favor. That's for a fact. So how do we call this fight? I mean, the line has broken to minus 110 apiece. I saw Ilya, a month ago, plus money on a lot of books. You can probably still find him out there at plus money, but I love Alexander Volkanovski. He's been a big favorite of mine as long as we've had, as long as we've done the show. But to me, it's Joe Pyfer versus Jack Hermanson all over again. In a lot of ways, in a lot of ways, it's Joe Pyfer versus Jack Hermanson all over again. But I think this time, we're going to see that Ilya Topuria is cut from a different cloth. Not than Joe Pyfer necessarily, but I'm saying like he's a rare one. He's 14-0. A lot of people want to look at his mistakes, look at him getting dropped by Guy Herbert, different areas of his fights in the UFC. But here's what I know about Ilya Topuria: he fights to the level of his opponent. Ilya Topuria is the type of fighter to fight to the level of his opponent. He's very, 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 very good, but will look the worst in matchups where his opponent is not as good. So I expect to see the absolute best Ilya Topuria we've ever seen rise to the occasion and finish Alexander Volkanovski, or put a prolonged beat down on him for 5 rounds, similar to what he did to Emmett. But I'll let you guys talk more. I got some other stats about Ilya, but if you don't bring them up, I'll make sure to bring them up. The pick is Topuria, guys. El Matador, the Georgian, Ilya Topuria. There's no doubt in my mind he gets the win.
I love the ball.
I feel like a national no Larry Ballsy bear.
Dan, what say you?
I do have doubts, and I'm going to ride with Volkanovski here. I don't think that we could go, base our decision here off of his latest performance. Previous to that fight, everyone was putting this guy up as their pound for pound best. He comes in last minute against the other guy who's arguably pound for pound best. He's drinking a bunch of brewskis or whatever. Maybe that's real, maybe it wasn't. But what we know for a fact is he did not come in looking like he was in shape as far as his previous physiques for previous fights, right? We could all agree to that. Lastly, he doesn't get finished by a nice little combination to the face. He gets head kicked. Anyone would have gotten knocked out by a head kick, right? So I don't think that his chin is compromised. Maybe it's a little bit more compromised now after taking the head kick. But what I mean to say is this isn't a guy with a chinny past. You got caught with a head kick that would have knocked out Francis Ngannou. So I expect to see a way better version of Volkanovski. This is the first time that Topuria is going up against a guy that's not a specialist. Everyone else it's a Bryce Mitchell type, a Josh Emmett, a specialist of an overhand right. All these guys that really don't blend their MMA quite like Volk, and he's the best at it. So I expect maybe he's not the pound for pound best at this point in his career, but something damn near close to that. And I think that's enough to get the job done against Topuria.
I personally am rolling with Topuria on this one. I just think it's going to be a little bit too quick of a turnaround. This is just as quick as a turnaround as Volk had when he fought Yair and Islam. It's just about the same amount of time as that turnaround. I don't think he is going to be as prepared as he thinks. And I think that Ilya Topuria is going to get the jump on him and maybe even finish him in the 3rd round. I think he's probably going to end up finishing Alexander Volkanovski.
No respect.
Okay, so let me come in real quick and say that Ilya Topuria, I saw this stat, he's never thrown a head or body kick.
Yeah.
Boxing heavy. But here's my thing. You mentioned about Volkanovski, anybody could have got knocked out from that head kick. But only Volkanovski, when he fought Max Holloway, when he fought Yair Rodriguez, when he's fought a lot of the guys in his history, he's taken near misses with those head kicks. Okay. Man, I completely forgot that I was going to come on here and say, I lost a lot of money last weekend. I don't want to get into specifics because, Volkanovski's always saying that. He's like, I can't get into specifics, but we've been working on specifics. So, dude, I'm just saying, like, I like to fade aging fighters, and I especially like to fade fighters who've been playing in back-to-back Super Bowls, okay? Because you got to think about it like this, guys. There's only so much wear and tear your body can take preparing for these 5-round fights if you're doing it the right way. And if you're at Volkanovski's level, you're doing it the right way. But the second a little bit of the wheel gets loose, a little bit of the bolts get loosened, it all falls apart and fast. And what happened is his bolts got loose, not necessarily because of advanced age. He's only 35, but it's because of the mental side of having to keep doing this. The constant roller coaster. Basically, he has just burnout. And that's why he, for the first time, self-medicated with alcohol, as he said. That is why, for the first time, and even he was like, I never do that. Even he hasn't yet figured it out. Even he is still catching up to the reality that by the time you realize you're burned out, it's usually too late. And he hasn't even realized it yet. I've realized it because he's clinging to things. That is a sign. That is a symptom. He also, like, this quick return is again a sign and a symptom. 3 months, guys. Think about this. If I hit you over the head with a baseball bat and knocked you unconscious 3 months ago, would you even be like would you be at the capacity? Like, think about this. He's not a superhero. Like, you can't get knocked out, like, and not go through the proper protocol and not recover properly, or else you're going to get sparked again. Chuck Liddell, dude. Come on. He had the best chin in all of MMA, and then he gets knocked out. Then all of a sudden, Rich Franklin with a broken arm hits him with a fucking paw on his back leg, and he fucking crumbles. Like, it's the same. It's like an alcoholic when you start to get drunk more easily. As you would think a guy who drinks for 30 years and can drink, so much, you'd think he has the best tolerance, and then suddenly, tipping point, that guy starts to drink, and now he's blacking out after like 2 shots because your brain goes into auto repeat mode. So,
not gonna lie, you're swaying me. I'm liking what you're saying.
Like, you're bringing everything to the table. I'm not bringing anything to the table except the present moment. That's my new style of betting from here on out. I'm always gonna, where I've had the most success is when I've done this. Be in the present moment. Don't think too much about the big picture. You obviously have to keep that in mind, but let that play in the background as you just examine what's going on right now. Because and start to look at it like success is the best indicator of failure, because this is a sport where it's a game of inches, and the more success somebody has, the more likely they then are to fail in the future. I mean, I'm sure there's like, to a point, right? There's a diminishing returns. It's like the more success you have, I think the more likely you are to have success. But then you redline. It gets to a point of like, it's like when you're playing Rocket. You ever play Rocket? That rocket's going up. It's going up, and you're like, oh, 1x, 2x, 3x. Oh, should I pull out? And it's, if that rocket's fired, it can only do that for so long. It's called the free market, guys. It's called displacement. It's called power vacuums. I mean, there's just all these sharks coming after you with more time to train, with more motivation to train, with more reason to train, with just, it's in less burnout. I mean, they haven't been fighting the best of the best of the best of the best. Imagine if Volkanovski's last 4 fights were Topuria's last 4 fights. He'd be coming in here a whole different guy. But his last 4 fights were Islam, Holloway. Yair. Yeah. That's hammer. That's fucking nothing but hammers. So, and in every one of the fights, there have been moments of adversity. So I'm telling you that there will be a moment of adversity in this fight where he gets clipped. And I don't think his chin or his temple or his head or his skull or his coconut is going to be able to take very many of Ilia Topuria's strikes. And Ilia can take everything Volkanovski throws at him and be there for all 5 rounds. And he's not going to get frustrated like Joe Pyfer did in that 5-round fight, because he's got more of these fighting for. He's not going to not have a sense of urgency at all times,
Ilya Topuria is going to win the title. Max Holloway is going to take it from him. And then
you want to know what's going to really happen is Max Holloway, here's my bold hot take. Max Holloway will never fight at 145 ever again. He will fight for the bad motherfucker title, and then he will never be able to make 145 again. He's actually getting bigger because everyone's talking shit, saying that he's not big enough. Joe Rogan on his own podcast said that Max Holloway, when he fought Dustin, just didn't have that size. So Max is like, he's like, all right, Joe Rogan, I heard you. Like, and he's lifting. Look at Max right now. There's a picture of him standing next to somebody. He's like, I think it said Max weighed 205 pounds right now.
Well, even better, Sugar Sean O'Malley's going to go up in weight and then knock out Ilya Topuria. Because Jai Herbert has knocked him out, and they have the same body type.
Yeah, fair. But I also think Ilya can wrestle Sean to the ground if he decides to and submit him. And with that threat, Sugar Sean, I think, will. I'm not saying he can't win. I'm just saying he has more to worry about than he thinks with Ilya. And the reality is, like, he's talking about Ilya being short. It's like, okay, Sean, then why do you cut all this dramatic weight to get down to where you fight at? Fight him. He's like, well, I'll go fight him. It's like, yeah, you'll fight him. You weren't so eager to fight Volkanovski. You actually said it in the ring after. Like, I'm under no delusion that I can beat Volkanovski. That's pretty much what he said, right?
Yeah.
So.
Please don't ask me any dumb questions.
That was Aljo. That said that. I think, right? Yeah, Aljo was like, because he was like, if I can't beat Sugar Sean, how am I going to beat Volkanovski?
Yeah.
Which is crazy.
Jake Paul and Sean Strickland are about to spar each other for $1 million.
I feel like I had so much to talk to you guys about too, like outside of the normal fight matchup stuff, like just talking about like hot topics and stuff. But we'll get to it in the Patreon. But yeah, Jake Paul, I heard offered him $1 million, but he said he won't because the UFC won't let him. I did want to talk about that a little bit. So the UFC, what Jake Paul and I think these other guys should understand is like guys like Sean Strickland. It's okay that they don't want to be or don't know how to be self-branding marketing machines. You know what I mean? Like Jake Paul's biggest flex on these guys is always like, you have to work for Dana. And they're like, better than working at AutoZone, man. What the fuck do you think I'm going to do if I'm not working for Dana White? Like, I wasn't on the Disney Channel. I wasn't on YouTube. I don't know how to fucking hold a GoPro. Like, what are you talking about, dude? I can't edit video. Like, this is what I'm doing. Like, this is what I like to do. Like, I'm not ashamed. Once in a while, like with McGregor, it works. With Masvidal, it works. Like different guys, you can kind of bait them a little bit. But most guys are like, Jake, I'm not going to just start a boxing league myself. Like if I don't work for the UFC, like I get it that you can. Cool, but it's just hilarious to come into industry and start bullying people. It's like being an Uber driver and going up to a cab driver in the early days and being like, fucking bitch. I'm my own business. I'm an LLC. You have to paint it yellow. You work for Yellow Cab Co.
I'm a disruptor.
Not allowed. I can drive whatever car I want.
Which just happens to be my shitty 2006 Honda Civic.
It's a Nissan Sentra for your information. Is that even a car? Toyota Sentra? Toyota. Right. I don't know. I don't speak Baroque car.
Oh my gosh.
I don't even own a car. I haven't owned a car in 12 years. So don't let me talk.
That is so un-American. That is just.
I mean, I was running the numbers on it. I was like, if you like, you know what the biggest, we can save this for the Patreon, but the biggest idiotic poor person, like favorite conversation is price of gas. And if you really even take 5 minutes and crunch the numbers on gas prices, you'll realize like, it doesn't fucking matter. I'll do the math for you in the Patreon. All right. We got to get to the second fight of the night. A better fight, in my opinion, the fight I'm more excited for. 185-pound matchup. Robert Whittaker, my guy, my favorite fighter, Robert the Reaper Whittaker. Yeah, we love Robert Whittaker. Bobby Knuckles. We love Robert. Yeah, dude, everybody, don't we love Robert Whittaker? Comment in the chat. Comment in the comments. Robert Whittaker, FTW, if you're on Team Robbie. Let's go. All right, so get that done right now. Did he leave the comment? Are you on Team Whittaker? Let's go. Okay, we're on Team Whittaker, baby. He's coming off that loss to Dricus du Plessis. Now listen, I know what you're saying. Luke, you came on here and you talked so much shit on Robert Whittaker and you predicted Dricus du Plessis was going to knock him out, and he did. and you ran around the hotel lobby just screaming and gloating, and you went back and you replied to the comments to the people who told you Robert Whittaker was going to win, and you said, "What now?" And I did do all those things, and I'm just excited for my boy Robert Whittaker to come back and do it all again for us. I'm excited to see him take the walk again. I know that he's not going anywhere, and he's going to go back and assess. And Dan, what do you think about this fight?
I think you're swaying me on this one as well. I'm liking some Paulo Costa. I think that he gained my respect in that Luke Rockhold fight for sure, just showing me that he's that dog. And he needed a little bit of respect because the Adesanya performance was, there was so much hype behind that fight. I was so excited, and it was just the ultimate dud, just ultimately getting scrapped. But I think Costa's onto something here. If we're talking about the wear and tear and the redlining and all that certainly must apply to Mr. Robert Whittaker. So I'm going to take your advice. I'm going to apply your red line theory. I'm going to apply it to Robert Whittaker in this matchup. I think he's going to walk right into a Paulo Costa overhand. And I think that's, 2 straight knockouts. Hard to fathom only a couple years back, but it's 2023. No, it's 2024. Even worse. Paulo Costa for the win.
You're both wrong, and I'm begrudgingly coming to you saying you're both wrong. I'm a huge Paulo Costa fan, but let's just crunch a little numbers real quick. He couldn't get Luke Rockhold there, the guy who everybody gets out of there, 2 years ago. And the last time Luke Rockhold had fought before that was 3 years ago. How rusty was Luke Rockhold coming off of like back-to-back-to-back knockouts, and Paulo Costa couldn't get him out of there? Where I am leaning more toward Robert Whittaker than Volkanovski is because Robert Whittaker rested that coconut just a little bit more than Volkanovski, and I think he's going to be primed, ready to rock, and he is going to take out Paulo Costa.
No. Wrong.
A 3-rounder. It's a 3-rounder.
Brother, let me tell you something. Robert Whittaker has never beaten a UFC champion. That's a fact. Robert Whittaker's coming off a knockout. How many months ago?
July.
7 months ago. Okay, that's fine. That's enough time. But here's the thing, man. He's got a really small head. Robert Whittaker's head's very small. Paulo Costa head very large. Paulo Costa, big neck, big traps. Robert, slender, true welterweight. Couldn't beat Wonder Boy. Not a good fighter, in my opinion, or not a great fighter. He's good everywhere, great nowhere. Robert Whittaker could teach a fantastic gym class about how to fight in the UFC. He could run like classes for days. He should be the guy who does the TED Talks. He should be he should be doing TED Talks and stuff. Very well spoken, very good communicator of martial arts and all that. But the reality is, not built for this anymore. Obviously, you look back at the Yoel Romero fight. Obviously, there was something different going on there. But these days,
Luke, you just hate Hobbit Whittaker.
Every single time, I've hated Robert Whittaker since he started talking about Fallout 4. And he was like, I'm pretty evil in Fallout 4. I do some evil deeds. And I forget what he even said that he did in the game that was evil to him. But it was just so mild. You know what I mean? It was so mild. And I'm like, Rob, you've done more evil things in your fucking real life, dude, than that, I've seen it on live TV. You punching guys in the head. But no, I'm kidding. But I don't know. Robert Whittaker rubs you the wrong way. I just don't like that everybody likes him. I don't like that he's universally liked. Him, Wonder Boy, Dustin Poirier, put him in a boat, send him to bare knuckle fighting, let him fucking have at each other. Luke Rockhold beats Robert Whittaker today if they fight. So, yeah, I don't like that. I don't like that Paulo Costa hasn't.
No, he doesn't.
5 months. I don't like that Paulo Costa.
Perry, dude. What the fuck are you talking about?
I don't like Mike Perry beats Robert Whittaker right now. How about that? In bare knuckle, definitely. In bare knuckle, 100%.
Outlandish.
In bare knuckle, Mike Perry knocks Robert Whittaker out. So, what's he gonna do? Blitz karate punches on him? He ate Michael Venom Page, and how'd that work out for Michael Venom Page? Mike Perry won. That's how it worked out. So anyway, I'm going with Paulo Costa, but do I love that he hasn't fought in a year and 5 months? No. Do I love that he's coming off a vicious staph infection that got him pulled from his last fight? No. what I love is that he's willing to do it, that he was willing to do it against Chimaev, that he has
I don't think this fight's going to happen. I feel like he's going to pull out.
Did you see he posted on his Instagram petition to kill Paulo Costa if he pulls out of UFC 298?
Oh my gosh.
What?
It said petition to kill Paulo Costa if he pulls out of UFC. And he posted it. And he's like, I think this is getting out of hand. So
because he knows he's going to pull out. He doesn't want anybody to kill him, Luke. That's a threat.
He posted it, Alex. It was a meme.
Somebody made it. He took the. Do you think he makes his memes?
That's fucking illegal.
Okay, so listen, I'm going with Paulo Costa. He's going to erase Robert Whittaker. I love the odds. Hate the fact that he hasn't fought in a year and a half, but he's willing to do it. Robert Whittaker's the worst possible opponent for him in this matchup. Robert Whittaker's the prime prototype to go in there and just make this a boring fight. Wrestle him, take him down, stall against the cage, not get knocked out. But if all goes well, that ends well. He gets kicked in the body, punched in the head, elbowed, uppercut, knee. Robert Whittaker's down. He's out. He's not getting up. Oh, my God. He's twitching like Bryce Mitchell. Like, that would be crazy. But, yeah, we'll see. Great back.
He's twitching like Bryce Mitchell.
All right. Well, Dan, you gave your pick. You took Paulo Costa as well?
Yeah.
Okay. Next up, we got a great fight. My favorite fighter is fighting Ian Machado Garry. Remember the name. Versus Jeff Hands of Steel Neal, former criminal. Dan, what do you think of? How do you think this shakes out between Ian Garry, well-liked guy, nobody has a bad thing to say about him, and Jeff Neal?
I think Ian Garry beat the piss out of Jeff Neal. Yeah, I like what Ian Garry's got going on. Every day I like him just a little bit more. Maybe that's the contrarian in me. I don't know, but
no, you are not even allowed to digest Ian Garry content. You are banned. You are blocked from his page.
I see. The bird sees all from the high point of view. Yeah, Ian Garry's got this all the way, man. He's the minus 220, I believe, favorite. The counter striking is there all day. I don't think Jeff Hands of Steel Neal, he certainly got some good pop. He's, fights out of the southpaw stance. Maybe that gives Ian Garry some trouble, but I think not. I think he'll see that straight left coming. He'll be able to slip out of the way and land some pretty good damage, get him up against the fence. I think we're going to see a bull in a china shop here with Ian Garry. I think he's going to come off real hot, real pissed, and take it all out on Jeff Neal, maybe even get the finish. I like Ian Garry for the win, regardless.
You already picked Alex?
No, I also love Ian Garry in this fight. I think we're going to have one fight on the main card where the fans are happy at the end of it, and that's going to be the Hobbit Whittaker fight. Ian Machado Garry is going to crush everyone's dreams. Everybody wants Jeff Neal to win. Everybody's rooting for Jeff Neal. Ian Garry's an easy punching bag now. Everybody likes to just pick on old Ian Garry. No, Ian Garry... He said it. He's mad. He's coming out there. Steam's coming out of his ears, and he's going to demolish Jeff Neal.
I'm wondering if I swayed Dan on the wrong one, right? Like if I swayed him to pick Costa, but I should have swayed him to pick Topuria. That's where my head's at right now as I record.
I'm not opposed to Topuria either.
Well, luckily for you, if you make it that far with your parlay, it's plus and it's even money. And the only thing is you wouldn't be able to hedge out on Whittaker because he's like minus 250. And if he goes in there and gets a takedown off the jump street, then that's, going to go to minus 450 real quick.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want Paulo Costa to win. I like the line value. I don't like to bet on guys coming off knockout losses who've already had their moment in the sun, who have already been to Super Bowl after Super Bowl, who went 10 rounds with Yoel Romero and probably had to piss blood for 3 weeks afterwards. I look at Robert Whittaker as, just... Say what you want about Paulo Costa's inactivity, but he's at least preserved himself.
Say what you want about Robert Whittaker. He's going to win this fight, and he's going to let Paulo Costa hump him.
All right. Well, I got to give my pick for Jeff Neal, Ian Garry. What I'm surprised most about this fight is the reach. They're even on reach. Yeah, Ian Gary's taller, but when has that really mattered in an ass whooping contest? I'd rather have the guy who is built like a fucking brick shithouse than a guy that's a little lanky string bean any day of the week, especially when, Jeff Neal went 3 rounds with Shavkat. It was, he was going to lose the decision, but that would have been the first time Shavkat had ever gone to a decision. That was actually a bet I had, Shavkat by decision, because I was like, he will beat Jeff Neal, but I think Jeff Neal with Safe Saud and, the great people he has around him is going to be able to have a good enough tactic to, and here's what Jeff Neal has: tactics plus danger, right? He can knock your ass out. Hands of Steel is his nickname, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I was thinking Sam Hands of Stone Stout. And Spencer the Kingfisher.
Fisher was his last name.
I'm like Spencer the Kingfisher Fisher. So yeah, I'm going with Jeff Neal because I think that Ian Garry sucks. He is a one-trick pony. He's one-dimensional. He gets favorable matchups. He's the giant favorite in every one of his fights, and he gets dropped in every one of his fights. If Jeff Neal drops him, he'll finish him. I'm going to keep picking against Ian Garry until I come up fucking right because it's no fun to bet on him. I've tried to bet on him. Before he was, attacking me, I basically, before he broke bad on me, I basically bet him a lot of times, and but I took him to win by knockout when he got decisions, right? I mean, it's just never been fun trying to get value on him or to get any kind of return. So, and
he was picking on Brian Battle.
And the thing is, it's one thing to ignore somebody, but it's another thing to bully. And no, so here's the thing: I'm going with Jeff Neal to do what he did in the Shavkat fight, but put hands on Ian Garry, drop him once, create chaos. Do I really think he's going to win? Probably not. I probably won't bet most of the fucking, most of it, but I'm going to have a lot of fun watching the fight, rooting for Jeff Neal and hoping that all of the madness that's gone on in Ian Garry's life, continues the uncertainty. I mean, he pulled out of the last fight with the fucking Hershey squirts or whatever. It's like, that's a sign. Who was even going to fight? Lukey.
Vincente Lukey, yeah.
And now he's got Neal, similar kind of opponent. I mean, I would rather fight Lukey than Neal because at least Lukey, I think, has a lot of holes in his game. Whereas Lukey is going to give you openings. Right, he's gonna create more openings than Neal. I think Neal is gonna come in there in this fight defensively sound, looking to take his head off, waiting patiently for the opportunity though, not willing to give him an inch. I don't know. Could be wrong. I've been wrong.
I hope Jeff Neal comes in like 8 pounds overweight.
Who's your pick?
Oh, I'm picking Ian Garry, but I hope he comes in 8 pounds overweight and then Ian Garry just pulls out. Ian Garry doesn't mess around with that because this game is about respect. Okay, it's about respect and honor, and not talking about people's private lives and relationships.
Yes. Okay, let's do this. Merab Dvalishvili versus Henry Cejudo. Henry Cejudo coming off that close split decision loss to Aljamain Sterling. Coming in plus 160 underdog, 37 years old, 4 years older than his opponent, Merab the Machine Dvalishvili. 5'6", 2 inches of height on Henry, and reach is going to be about same. Merab's somebody we were high on, guys, right? I mean, we loved him. We lauded him. We picked him every time. He's Georgian. He's the machine. He puts up volume. He puts up takedowns. He doesn't give up. He's amazing. We loved him. It wasn't really until this whole fiasco with him and Aljamain trying to fight City Hall in the UFC and Dana White and the competitive architecture of their division. And moreover, just the way, there's a way to handle that. There's a way to do that. They didn't do it properly, and it's a PR mishap. It's a marketing nightmare, but they just kept putting their foot in their mouth over and over and over again and not really knowing how to navigate the situation. And entitlement and game playing and manipulation and all of this stuff aside, if you're offered an opportunity and you sit out, then you have no right to to, the next up for grabs, right? You're now on the waiting list. Like there's a whole, like, dude, you took yourself out. Like we offered to, you took yourself out. So nothing, like, hold on. Like there's a whole thing now. You took yourself out. You got to get back in now, So I don't know what Merab was thinking, but or I don't know what he was thinking in that he's not gonna have to fight again to get a title shot. You know what I mean? It's like, no, absolutely not. It's not how this works. So I'm going with Merab here. I don't like it, but I have to, because Henry committed a cardinal sin. He said that if he doesn't win, he's retiring. And that might have been okay for me, because he didn't say if I no matter what I'm retiring. That would have been worse. If he said no matter what I'm retiring after this, that would have been way worse. But still a cardinal sin of saying, if I don't win this fight, I'm going to retire. To me, that's not burning your boats. That is actually softening the landing. That's actually saying like, well, it's okay because at the end of the day, if I don't win, then it just means that I'm not built for that, that my time has come. So like, you're actually softening the landing. You're not saying like, it's all or nothing. I have to fight for this. It's like, no, you're giving yourself a pacifier instantly to say, hey, let's just give this a shot again. And if we can't beat this guy, then it doesn't mean that like we're not who we are. It just means that our time has passed and we have to move on. But let's just try. Maybe we're not there yet. You know what I mean? But let's let this be the calibration test. It's like, not the right mentality, sadly. And I love Henry Cejudo's mentality. I love him for his mentality. I love everything he's ever done. He's a great combat sports athlete, one of my favorite fighters. But I do not think he gets past Merab because I just don't think that if he couldn't stop Aljamain in certain situations, I don't think he's going to be able to stop Merab with the takedown. I think Merab's actually kind of more persistent and better with the takedowns and a little bit more willing and dangerous on the feet too. So I think it's just going to be chaotic. I think Henry's going to be a beat behind the whole fight. It's going to be Henry. Remember Henry in the octagon with Khabib, showing Khabib like, and if we're at this distance, and Khabib's like, but you kick my leg, it doesn't matter. I don't care about that. You know what I mean? It's like Henry is messing in the realm of theory too much. He's living in the realm of theory. You know what I mean? And that's not going to go well when it collides with a persistent and frustrating style like Merab, a pesky, persnickety, problematic style. I had to think of a third P for that. But yeah, it is exactly the style that will make all theory go out the window, and you're like, my theories are not working. Henry's got to be willing to get in a motherfucking fight like he did with Marlon Moraes. If I'm in Henry's corner, I'm saying, hey, Henry, you got to be willing to get in a fight like you were in with Marlon Moraes. Can you do that? Can you fucking melt this guy? Can you just keep going forward no matter fucking what and let him get fucking tired? And they say he's the machine. You want to we're going to make him tired. That's it. That's the only fucking way. If you're going in there, if he's going into thinking what, he's going to outpoint Merab, he's going to knock Merab out. No, Henry, it's one direction and it's forward, and you fucking melt him. You fucking melt him. You have to do what he does to other people. You have to do to him, because that's the one thing no one ever does. Why? Because they think, oh, I am not going to test Merab in the cardio department. That's stupid. That's his biggest strength. But it's his biggest strength because he's constantly the one going forward. If you shift that and manipulate that, now he has to use a completely different energy source. Now his body is, dude, they were talking about this on the Barstool stream about the timing, about your internal clock, and how the Super Bowl kind of messes with that because there's a different beat and a different rhythm to it, like with the halftime being longer and stuff, right? So if you think about Mahomes, who's been there before, versus Purdy, who hasn't, the beat, the rhythm, it's like, you don't know how to do that. You know what I mean? You got to kind of get there once or twice. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. But what I'm trying to say is Henry has to make Merab fight a different fight than he usually does. The only way to do that is to do something different than people usually do. The only way to do that is to have fucking balls. You want to really burn the boats? This is how you really burn the boats. You get in Merab's face. You put him on the back foot. You do not fucking stop shooting takedowns, throwing punch kicks, elbows, spinning shit, everything at him. If he takes you down, you are scrambling from the fucking get-go, and you're getting up and you're hitting him with elbows and you're crushing him, and you do not stop moving.
He's injected his ass. So
And I got news for you.
Cheer me up, babe.
Just when I thought I was out, they pulled me back in.
Huh?
I got so fired up just thinking about Henry Cejudo, listening to me and be like, he's right. And him just going at Merab and just fucking flying kneeing him and Merab being like, oh shit. And just instantly from the first minute of the fight, Merab's just like, okay. That's what he has to do to him. He has to be like, who the fuck am I fighting? Where is this Henry Cejudo I've watched so much tape on? In this little karate stance. Do the McGregor.
Mate, you know.
No problem, mate, yeah?
Sorry.
It's all right.
No, do it.
I lost it.
I'm gonna hit McGregor drop again when he ends, then you do it.
No problem, mate, yeah? No fucking problem.
You blew my fucking mind. I can't do it, dude. I lost it, bro. I lost it. I told you I lost it.
When you were doing this? When you were doing this thing?
It's the funniest video ever.
You had it, mate.
Oh, man.
We got I picked Merab.
So who you got, Dan?
I'm going with Henry Cejudo. I might be a square for this. I feel like I'm a square, but that plus 145 is tempting me, man. It's calling my name, and I got to take a bite out of it. I'm going with my man one last time. He's got to be able to stuff these takedowns. I don't know. Now that I'm even saying this out loud, I feel like a loser.
No, you're convincing me. I think you're right. Like, he stuffs the takedowns.
But bro, he didn't do it against Aljo, and it's going to be the same exact thing. Aljo's going to tell him all the tricks, everything that he needs to get this, get the job done.
Stuff the takedown, piece him up with a combo, separate, and just do that all night. That's another route to victory. Actually, he doesn't need to go straight at him and just and he doesn't need to do the other thing I said.
He actually has far more ways to win than Merab Dvalishvili. He doesn't necessarily have to just out-machine the machine.
If he goes tit for tat with him, I think he'll lose.
I don't know, man. I feel like that last fight, now that the Aljo fight is playing in my head, it's making me sick.
Aljo lost that fight.
It was close, and Aljo only ever had him down for a little bit. And when he did get him down, it was in open space. He had him with a pretty sneaky little takedown in open space. You got to watch the fight again.
All right, so here's the math, right? Henry barely lost, right? It was close, barely lost. Merab is a lesser version than Aljo. Henry now wins.
And it's a different body type.
I'm riding with that math. I'm a very simple math guy.
It's a completely different body type. Aljamain Sterling comes in 20 pounds heavier than his opponents at this weight class. That's why he's moving up. He's longer. He's got longer arms to be able to get those takedowns. Merab Dvalishvili is a short, stubby man. He's got hill wrestling. It's not as good.
Any of size.
It's not as good as American wrestling. Henry Cejudo, the youngest Olympic wrestling champ ever, is going to go and shock the world and beat Merab Dvalishvili.
Oh, that'd be so
and then come back and then beat Sugar Sean O'Malley for the title as well.
All right.
That'd be really great, but we'll see. All right, I'm sticking with Merab. You guys got Henry. We'll move on. Easiest pick of the night, best value of the night. Run to the betting station, run to your bookie. I'm just fucking knowing this line is going to narrow. It has to narrow. How the fuck is Roman Kopylov plus 150 underdog against Anthony Fluffy Hernandez? And this is by no means a disrespect or shade towards Fluffy, but I see this line the opposite way. Easy pick for me, Roman Kopylov. Great fight, tooth and nail, possible near finishes, probably goes to decision. Give me Roman Kopylov.
Oh, man.
Trust me on this one, guys. Trust me. This is my... Come on, guys. Trust me on this one, dude. Trust me on this one.
I don't know, man.
Trust me.
I really
had
don't.
a deep conversation with Steven Seagal last time I was in Dubai.
Dude, Fluffy Hernandez beat the Iron Turtle, Adolfo Vieira, Edmund Shabazian, Marc-Andre Barriol, and also Josh Fremd. So I think his strength of schedule is a little bit better than Roman.
Tell me where he beats Roman Kopylov. Does he outstrike him? Absolutely not. Does he outwrestle him? Absolutely not. Does he submit him? Absolutely not.
I think he mixes things up a little bit more. I think Roman Kopylov is more dependent on the striking. I think Albert Duriev kind of exposed that in their fight in the UFC. I think Anthony Hernandez is kind of like a deceivingly bigger and more athletic guy than people think. I think he wears Roman Kopylov out. everybody's high on Roman Kopylov right now because he has that, Josh Frem. He took Josh Fremd out, but Josh Fremd was coming in on super short notice, as far as I remember, because Fluffy had to withdraw. But I think Fluffy gets this one done, man.
All right. Dan, what do you think?
But this is not one I'm super high on, this fight, personally.
Not super high on this one. Which one are we talking about?
Kopylov versus Hernandez.
Oh, I'm high on this one. I like Kopylov all day and night. His striking has been...
Sorry, real quick. Money Moicano. When I saw this line, I sent it to Dan and Alex. I go, this line should be flipped. No disrespect to Hernandez. Dan was like 100% agree. Then I send him a follow-up. YouTube, Money Moicano channel, did a survey. Who do you think wins this fight? And 80% of the people said Roman Kopylov. So that's 80% of the people who follow Money Moicano, which smart, educated, well-read.
But Money Moicano, smart, educated himself, said... a lot of people are going to be going for Roman Kopylov here. I think that Anthony Hernandez is just like a tougher guy, and I think he's going to be able to gut it out.
Okay, fair enough. Well, I guess I'm more so just going on this line. And if 80% of the people think that it's Kopylov on his channel, why is he the underdog? I just think the line's going to switch. Simple as that. But I'm taking Kopylov. Dan, sorry, continue.
No, it's all good. One thing that gives me a little bit of cause for pause is Kopylov has to maintain that distance. Don't get into a brawl. Just be the better striker that you are from that safe distance. You'll still be able to land some thunderous shots. He's got them long legs. He's been head kicking people to death as of late. Keep that distance. Be safe. If you must, sprawl it out. Okay. I think he's got enough grappling background to keep this thing on the feet. But yeah, do not get into a dogfight. Do not get into a dogfight with a raw dog here, Anthony Hernandez. But Kopylov, if you could do that, if you're listening, if you're watching, if you could do that, you'll get another win, maybe even another win bonus. It'll be tough to do against Hernandez, but at the very least, you'll get that win, and you'll be shooting up the rankings.
Roman Kopylov is Edmund Shabazian, but a little better.
I think we're seeing a better and better Roman Kopylov every time he fights. That's what scares me. And while Hernandez is great, he consistently surprises people. And that's why you're getting him as a favorite. Now, you want to bet Anthony Hernandez, I think that's a great idea. But there were times to bet Anthony Hernandez, and the time to bet him at minus 200 is not against Roman Kopylov, I'll tell you that much. Maybe it was against Josh Frem. Maybe it was against some of the times you would have got him as an underdog. But just from a straight up like Gianni the Greek standpoint, I mean, I hate to put words in his mouth, but I would like to think Gianni the Greek would say, Luke, you're absolutely right. He would say 100%, Lukey. I can't do a Gianni the Greek impression. Sorry, guys. But, okay. Here's my thing. We just finished the main card. We got to break down the prelims. We do that on the Patreon. So if you want... I'm just throwing this out there. If you've watched the show for this long and you want to go to patreon.com/perfectlypursued, we would appreciate some funding. We need some funding. So that's going to get you an extra episode of the show. It's $100 for the entire year. We do another episode just like this one where we break down the prelims. And some say it's an even better episode. Get in there for the full year. We're going to give Alex all the money this month. And what he's going to do with that money, I know he's going to do the right thing. He's going to place a big time wager on a Triple P certified pick. He's going to return us what we gave him. He's going to say, I just tripled the money. Here you guys go with interest. And that's what I think is happening. So get in there
with interest.
Dry powder. We need to get some dry powder. Thank you for supporting the show. We're going to take you through our main card picks.
Lukey, I thought this was a PPP donation, not a PPP loan, my boy.
Yeah, but just show us what you're worth. You're a firework, baby. You know what I mean? Go and show us what you're worth. Is that what they say in the song?
I think so.
Baby, you're a firework.
Yeah.
Go and show them what you're worth.
Bros, I swear to you, like for some fucking reason, they just signed me out of my dang I'm trying to find the picks is what I'm trying to say here. I'm trying to find the picks, but
all right, I will take out of my away with my picks. Starting off with the curtain jerker of the main card, I'm going with Anthony Hernandez, and then I'm going with Henry Cejudo, Ian Machado, Garry, Hobbit Whittaker, and Ilya Topuria. That's another thing that Money Moicano does. He calls him Hobbit Whittaker, and I love it.
Hobbit Whittaker.
I'm gonna stay true. I'm gonna stay true and go with Alexander Volkanovski. I'm picking up what you guys are putting down, but one more fight. Give me one more fight of at least somewhere close to prime Volk. He'll get this thing done. Then we move on to Paulo Costa. Really more of a let's have fun pick for me. I don't know how invested I'll be. Ian Machado Garry, Henry Cejudo, and Roman Kopylov round out my main card.
Henry Cejudo invented judo, but when he did, it was called Cejudo. Then they stole it. They stole it from him. You see that on the Rampage podcast, Alex?
Yes, I did. Yes, I did.
Shout out to Rampage Jackson. Even though Ian Garry doesn't like you, I like you, Rampage.
Ian Garry,
I love when your enemies make powerful enemies. I love it.
I was very disappointed in Ian
Who else
Garry.
don't you like, Ian Garry? Joe Rogan? Ian Garry, you're feuding with Rampage Jackson, Chael Sonnen. Who else? Let's throw Joe Rogan in the mix. Any more likable figures you wanna turn off? How about where's Randy Couture? Let's see what he has to say about Ian Garry. Ian, you want to make another powerful enemy? Anyway, sorry, Alex.
No, you're good.
What were you saying?
Oh, Ian Garry, he shouldn't be mad at Rampage Jackson. That's one, even as Ian Garry's number one fan, I don't like. Then again, I didn't see the Rampage interview where apparently he made fun of Ian Garry. I just watch Rampage Jackson's interviews. And how truthful is this Ian Garry? Is he really being honest that he was supposed to be on the podcast that week? And on top of that, give Rampage a break, dude. He says it all the time on his podcast. He has a terrible memory.
And also, he just is always joshing around.
Yeah.
You ever see the episodes with his own son? He's always making fun of his own son, worse than he made fun of Ian Garry. So
way worse.
Yeah, I'm not gonna get into it. But let me give my picks. Alex, did you give all your picks?
Yeah.
All right, cool. I'm going Ilya Topuria, Paulo Costa, Jeff Neal, Merab Dvalishvili, and Roman Kopylov. For me, the only favorite of those, besides the pick 'em with Topuria, but he opened as an underdog, the only favorite is Merab Dvalishvili. So, pretty much mirroring a lot of these guys' picks. But, that being said, I told you guys my real feelings on the Jeff Neal fight. Obviously not a fight I'm super confident in. I am confident in Merab and Kopylov, and I am confident in Topuria. Costa, I want to be confident. I really believe, if he was more active, this would be a walk in the park for him. But, unlike Dan, him getting through the Robert Whittaker fight in the way he did wasn't exactly confidence building for me. I was kind of like, oh Jesus, not about him not being able to finish Robert Whittaker.
You mean the Luke Rockhold fight?
Sorry, Luke Rockhold. Yeah, not that he couldn't finish Luke Rockhold. That's not a big deal to me, but it's a big deal that he finished on his back.
And it was sloppy, very sloppy.
Hey, Luke Rockhold's a good surfer. All right. So those things can happen with a good surfer.
You just don't want to be sloppy against Whittaker. So I'm hoping he comes in a little bit more Hamzat ready, right? I'm hoping he rides that Hamzat camp right into this one. He's got to have respect for Whittaker. So those are my picks: Topuria, Costa, Neal, Dvalishvili, Kopylov. I'm sticking to it. Triple B certified picks. We only got one for you guys. We got none for you guys. We got none. No. we have absolutely none. Alex, you went with Hernandez. So we have no Triple B certified picks on the main card. Maybe we will in the prelims. Get over there to the Patreon. Thank you so much for joining the show, everybody. If every single person who subscribes sends it to 10 people, then we might get a Spotify deal. So just go ahead and just think of 10 of your closest friends, sign them up. All right. Thank you. We love you and goodbye.